Randomized trial of introduction of allergenic foods in breastfeed infants. The age at which allergenic foods should be introduced into the diet of breastfeed infants is uncertain. Be evaluated whether the early introduction of allergenic foods in the diet of breastfeed infants would protect against the development of food allergy.
So what am I going to talk about, really? That's a good question. I don't know if there are any ideas in the audience, but I thought I might regurgitate literally some of the previous sleep study findings, but with more emphasis perhaps on, well, I'll tell you a bit about LEAP because there are many facets to LEAP, but I'll tell you also about what LEAP doesn't tell us and the sorts of questions that remain, some of which we hope will be answered by EAT and by LEAP-ON, but I suspect that there's going to be a raft of ongoing studies to answer for them or some of those questions. So let's proceed.
We recruit from the general population 1303 exclusively breastfeed infants who were 3 months of age and randomly assigned them to the early introduction of 6 allergenic foods like peanut, cooked egg, cow's milk, sesame, white fish, and bread. Early introduction group, or to the occurrent practice recommended in the United Kingdom of exclusive breastfeeding to approximately 6 months of age. The primary outcome was food allergenic to one or more of the 6 foods between 1 year and 3 years of age.
Hi, I'm Dr. Paul, and welcome to another episode of Ask Your Pediatrician. Today I'm going to talk about formula, breastfeeding, and first foods. So moms, dads, parents, you know that breast is best. There is absolutely no question about it. But in case you were wondering, and I'm not promoting any formula, absolutely not. Breast is best, and here's why. Just take a look, and I'm not picking on any particular can or manufacturer of a given formula, but you can look at the ingredient list, and what you'll notice is a list about a mile long. Now, these ingredients include things like partially hydrogenated vegetable oils. That kind of reminds me of fast food, that kind of thing. The reason the fats have to be partially hydrogenated is they would spoil. You cannot put fresh natural fat on the shelf for months and years. So this is the same reason ants and cockroaches won't eat Twinkies, I believe, because of the partially hydrogenated fats. Sorry, that's a gross example, but my point is, if you can have healthy, natural breast milk, why wouldn't you? So moms, I will never put any pressure on you to breastfeed if it's just something you cannot do. There are moms who've had breast reductions and it just plain old doesn't work often. Not always, but most of the time you're going to have to supplement with some formula. There are lots of good formulas. I prefer organic, but there's some issues with those as well, so it's a discussion we would need to have. Because, for example, the sweetener used in some organic formulas, if they're using a rice syrup, we now know that most of the rice products are very high in arsenic, which is a terrible toxin.
Indentation to treat analysis for allergy to one or more of the 6 intervention foods deployed. The participants in the standard introduction group. In the per-protocol analysis, the prevalence of any food allergy was significantly lower in the early introduction group than in the standard introduction groups.
know that 90% of food allergies are caused by milk, eggs, peanuts, tree nuts, fish, shellfish, wheat, or soy? With food allergies on the rise, it's important to be in the know. Symptoms usually occur within a few minutes to an hour after eating a specific food, but sometimes it can take days. If your baby is breastfeeding, he may have a reaction to a food that you've eaten. Here are the 3 types of symptoms to watch for. One sign is a skin rash. Hives, those itchy bumps that look like blotchy mosquito bites, they're a classic allergic reaction. But eczema and itchy skin rash is another common symptom, and it's often the first sign of an allergy. Stomach problems can also be a symptom. If your baby consistently vomits or has diarrhea after eating a particular food, he may have a food allergy or have a food intolerance, which is less serious. Blood-streaked stool is often a sign of a cow's milk allergy. Also watch for circulation and breathing issues. Pale skin, sneezing, and wheezing are all signs of allergy. And if your baby ever has difficulty breathing, call 911 immediately. He may be experiencing anaphylaxis, the most serious allergic response. Fortunately, your child may not have an allergy forever. More than 80% of allergies to eggs, milk, wheat, and soy go away by age 5.
The consumption of 2 g per week of peanut or egg white protein was associated with a significantly lower prevalence of these respective allergies than was less consumption. The early introduction of all 6 foods was not easily achieved but was safe.
Food allergies are a major cause of anaphylaxis, resulting in 30,000 ER visits and 100 to 150 deaths annually. With the possibility of these dangers, parents are often uncertain when allergenic foods should be introduced into their infants' diets to prevent allergies later in life. Current guidelines suggest that allergenic foods, like peanuts, should be introduced to the infant between 4 to 6 months of age. However, a longitudinal cohort study in the UK looked at 1,300 breastfed infants to see if the introduction of allergenic foods at 3 months of age is more effective in preventing allergies. The sample was divided into 2 groups. The standard introduction group infants were exclusively breastfed for the first 6 months of age, while the early introduction group were introduced 2 grams of allergen weekly at 3 months of age. Food allergy developed in 7.1% of the standard introduction group and 5.6% of the early introduction group infants, only a 1.5% difference between the groups. With this small difference, the researchers concluded that there is not a significant difference between introduction at 3 months versus the standard 4 to 6 months of age.
Conclusion: the trial did not show the efficacy of early introduction of allergenic foods and intention to treat analysis. Further analysis raised the question of whether the prevention of food allergy by means of early introduction of multiple allergenic foods was thus dependent.